Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'd like to thank all my colleagues here in the House, as well as those joining us virtually, like I'm doing. Today, on this day of commemoration of all the lives we've lost in these terrible times, we now have over 20,000 Canadian men and women who've lost their lives because of COVID-19. For each individual, for each family, we all share the same feelings as those who've already spoken this morning. And I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for his words, as well as the leader of the official opposition and the leader and the member for Belleuil-Chambly and the leader of the NDP.
Want to try to throw more thoughts into the chamber this morning, other than to say we all grieve. We grieve a very difficult year, and as many members have said, for some people more difficult than for others, for our seniors in long-term care homes, for marginalized people, for Indigenous communities. But it's hard to do a list without leaving someone out. I wanted to think about the moments where we were at our best through this last year. I think the first few months of the pandemic, we displayed virtually no partisanship. I can clearly remember, of course, that every bill that was passed up until September, we passed unanimously. But particularly those first 3 months, those first 3 or 4 months, voices on the phone, listening to daily updates and briefings, which happened on Saturdays and Sundays as well from our civil servants. You couldn't tell when someone opened the microphone to ask a question if that voice was a conservative voice or a liberal voice, a green voice, a voix de Bloc Québécois, or an NDP.
A Bloc voice.
The same things. Can we get help fast enough? Can we help people? Can you please regard the credit unions the same way you look at the commercial banks? Can we please do this? And I want to call to us because while we commemorate a year of COVID-19, it's very clear it isn't over. Our ability to get through this and to save lives depends on us bringing back the best of ourselves and setting aside partisan advantage. I know it's deeply baked into our DNA to try to take shots on both sides, government, opposition, whatever. But please, Canadians don't want to see us trying to gain partisan advantage, thinking about an upcoming election. They want to see us work together, and that means provinces, the federal government, political parties here in Ottawa. In looking for empirical evidence through pandemic, which we do, we look for the science, we look for the evidence. Those countries that have done particularly well through pandemic have been marked in the media as those led by women leaders. I want to mark one other thing, and this is about not scoring a political point myself, but making a point about political culture. Those countries that have women leaders have another thing in common. They don't use the first past the post voting system. Our voting system encourages gotcha politics. The system of awards, reward, and punishment for conduct goes towards rewards for doing the mean thing, reward for finding the dog whistle, reward for the wedge issue. Now's not the time for that. Even though we still live under first past the post, I urge us to behave and to judge our conduct as though we didn't, to pretend that we really are able to say we collaborate today because we know we can collaborate tomorrow and it won't hurt us at the polls. We need, for however long this lasts, to bring out the best in ourselves, as we did at the very beginning of the pandemic, when we set partisanship aside. I love you all individually and collectively. I really, truly do. We have to do this together. There's no other way. We're now in a race between vaccines and variants. We have people who will be safe soon from their vaccinations. We have people who are still at risk. And our society as a whole, our ability to triumph over adversity, that we will mark best when we conduct ourselves in ways that suggest there are no parties here. God bless you. Thank you.